Cave Story. The lovely, beautiful Cave Story. With today being the day of your 15th birthday, I sought it right to pay tribute to your excellence by writing a video essay to show people whenever I bring up how magnificent you are. Yeah, in case you couldn't tell by my channel header or my old stupid intro that was always too loud, I love Cave Story. Developed single-handedly by Daisuke Amaya, or Pixel as he's more commonly known, he released the game to the internet completely for free on Monday, December 20th, 2004, 15 years ago, or as I like to call it, 5,478 days of this video's release. The game was later ported to multiple consoles by Company Nicholas, well known for creating The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, along with all the DLC. These Cave Story releases included an updated WiiWare release with new graphics, music, and additional features in early 2010, a DSiWare release of the original game with some added features in late 2010, a 3DS remake in 2011, a Steam release of an updated version of the WiiWare version a few days after the 3DS remake in 2011, another 3DS release that was just the WiiWare version of the game without the updated visuals or sound in 2012, and finally, a Nintendo Switch version, which was just the Steam version with even more updated features and music in 2017. And to not confuse the canvas anymore with releases, I won't bother bringing up all the fan versions of this game. Surprisingly, even though the game initially was from Japan, all of the console Nicholas versions of Cave Story didn't release the game first in Japan. They'd always take months after the official release to bring it over to the East. I mean, Japan never even got the WiiWare release. It only ever came out in America and Europe. But ignoring all that, all you need to know is that the original release of Cave Story is free, and the best version on the market is either that one or the Nintendo Switch version, depending on who you ask. The game follows a mute, pale-looking boy on his quest to remember why he was even in a cave in the first place. He meets these little cute bunny people called Mimigas and learns that a guy called the Doctor has been capturing them to turn them into big, scary bunny monsters. After seeing a capturing take place, our little protagonist goes on his way to save the Mimigas to keep them cute and cuddly forever. Of course, there's a lot more to it, but if you wanted to know the story, then you should just play the game yourself. Or, I guess watch some random person on the internet play it for you. I will say, it's definitely not a lame story, that's for sure. Maybe it's a saved story, or even a slave story. It certainly is a cave story, though. Most people tend to call the game a Metroidvania, meaning a game with heavy roots and design aspects from the Metroid and late Castlevania games, which are very much 2D open-world-esque adventures. However, Cave Story is much more linear than something like Metroid, which tends to focus on giving the player big playgrounds to explore new paths and routes. Cave Story, on the other hand, is more focused on giving these big playgrounds but having specific points in them to progress the game. And progression doesn't happen through getting unlockable upgrades, but rather story points that allow access to new quests. Don't get me wrong though, plenty of upgrades are available by exploring the areas the game gives to you, but most of them feel optional, whereas Metroid games require specific tools found on the field to get through sections. This type of optionally oriented gameplay allows many playthroughs to be different from the last, and while there's only 3 main endings the game offers, each playthrough to those endings may be a different experience. Even some of the earlier upgrades can be denied to get different upgrades later on, with each of them having their own advantages and disadvantages. Most of the upgrades are gun-based weapons, such as a standard pistol called the Polar Star, a machine gun, creatively called the Machine Gun, a fire-based weapon used for hilly environments called the Fireball, and many others. There are also health and utility upgrades as well. By defeating enemies, they can drop different rewards. Among these are little Dorito-looking experience collectibles, which upgrades your weapons to become stronger. Each weapon has its own experience meter. so you could have a level 3 Polar Star but only a level 1 Fireball. Some weapons even get utility upgrades when they level up, such as the level 3 Machine Gun, which allows you to fly upwards through the momentum of the bullets when shooting towards the ground. Though, not all leveled up weapons will gain extra abilities, as they may just shoot stronger and farther. Now, with this being a one-man passion project, all of the visuals and music were done by Pixel himself. I mean, even the music creation tool was developed by him called OrgMaker, and is available online at cavestory.org, a wonderful fan-made resource for all things Cave Story related. The art follows a 16-bit graphics formula akin to Sega Genesis games. There are no real advanced features like scaling or the like, and there's actually a fully working port of the game on Sega Genesis made by fans, which is one of the many different fan ports of Cave Story there are. While this style of indie games is common today, the practice wasn't overdone back in 2004, with Cave Story being praised for how it felt exactly like a game from the Nintendo and Sega rivalry era of gaming at the time. Of course, nowadays almost all indie games follow this format of 8-bit, 16-bit visuals and music. Speaking of music, Cave Story's soundtrack is filled to the brim with amazing songs, all of which of course are chiptune. However, with the different official ports of Cave Story, there are a total of 4 remade versions of the original soundtrack, including new, remastered, family tracks, and Ridiculon. Each of them has their own flair and style to the individual songs. The most unique out of all of these is New, being a completely different take on the soundtrack rather than just trying to change how the bass songs sound. Not a lot of people like the new soundtrack though, as it's often slower and it tends to change the mood of certain parts of the game. Before I end the video, I have a special Cave Story announcement to make. If you were wondering why this review felt more like an overview of Cave Story, that's because it was. As over the course of the next year, I will be creating a Cave Story walkthrough series. I plan to go more in depth about the lore, individual stages, characters, enemies, and design aspects that make Cave Story so fantastic. And after that, I'll make more Cave Story content, so much Cave Story that you'll know everything about the game, its impact, and its history. But maybe not all of it. Gotta keep a little to myself, you know, just in case if there's ever a Cave Story trivia quiz, so that I'll be the one to win. I actually made a Cave Story Let's Play a while back in 2015. I've had the videos privated on YouTube for a while, but if you guys are interested in hearing little baby me play his favorite game, I'll consider putting them as public on the channel for archival purposes. It's not as thought out as what I planned to make given it's only a Let's Play rather than a walkthrough, but I guess it might be funny hearing little baby me play video games. I just love Cave Story. It's so good. I've been playing it for 6 years, basically ever since Some Call Me Johnny's video about the game came out. Or maybe it was the Completionist video. I guess I'll never know which came first because the Completionist had to take down all of his old videos, and I don't remember the release date. So, maybe that'll be the one thing you know about Cave Story that I don't. When I got into Cave Story, my own knowledge of my interests will be my one failure of being a Cave Story master. I failed myself. But if you do enjoy in-depth looks into games, then I recommend you stick around. I have a lot planned for Cave Story. This 15-year-old game will be the driving force of my channel. And I guess whatever music covers and smaller videos I make in between. Well, I hope you guys enjoy what will be coming up in the next decade of 2020.